We are anonymous. No faces, no flags, no permission slips. We exist where power expects silence, where intimidation pretends to be strength, and where lies are sold as patriotism. What you are about to hear is not rumor, not theater, and not exaggeration. It is the sound of a regime slipping, of control cracking, of a man who built his authority on fear, discovering that fear has limits. Donald Trump is losing control, and America is flooding the streets because of it. Across the United States, the pressure is visible, audible, unavoidable. Protest is no longer isolated or episodic. It is sustained. It is spreading. It is becoming cultural rather than reactive. And nowhere did this rupture feel more immediate than in Minneapolis, where roughly 10,000 people poured into the streets after the killing of Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old woman shot by Trump's ICE forces while driving her car in South Minneapolis. She was not armed. She was not attacking. She was not a threat. She was killed. A physician tried to render emergency aid. Trump's ICE agents refused. They stood there and let her bleed out. Then, as if the killing itself wasn't enough, the regime accused the woman they had just killed of being a domestic terrorist. This is how collapsing power behaves. It murders, then lies, then defames the dead, hoping confusion will outrun truth. It didn't. Americans watched the footage. They heard eyewitness accounts. They understood exactly what they were seeing: state violence without accountability. This was not law enforcement. This was occupation behavior. And when occupation behavior turns inward on its own citizens, the result is always the same: mass resistance. Trump's defenders want this treated as an isolated incident. It is not. It is part of a pattern that stretches across borders and regimes. Look at Venezuela, not the fantasy version pushed by Trump-aligned propaganda, but the reality on the ground. Paramilitary units known as colectivos roam neighborhoods, stop civilians, seize phones, search for opposition messages, and disappear anyone who fails the loyalty test. This repression is carried out by political enforcers who survive by serving power, not people. And despite Trump's loud rhetoric, that regime remains intact because it serves his interests. Trump does not support democracy. He supports outcomes that benefit him. He supports authoritarians who will sign away their people's resources in exchange for survival: oil, rare earths, strategic leverage. That is why pro-democracy movements are inconvenient to him. Democracy resists extraction. Authoritarianism facilitates it. This is the connective tissue between Minneapolis and Caracas. Trump's ICE and Border Patrol units are behaving like collectivos, paramilitary forces, operating with ideological permission rather than legal restraint. Armed agents roaming cities, escalating encounters, treating civilians as enemies. Call it what it is. Terrorizing the population to enforce obedience is terrorism. And Trump's own language gives the game away. Over and over, he and his allies describe America as a predator nation. Predators must dominate, they say. Predators must expand. Predators must control the hemisphere. They talk openly about Colombia, Cuba, Greenland, anywhere power can be projected and resources seized. This is not foreign policy. This is imperial instinct dressed up as nationalism. Donald Trump knows predators because he is one: a lifelong sexual predator, a convicted felon, a serial fraud, a professional bankrupt who ran casinos into the ground casinos, the one business where the house is supposed to win. This is the man who wants you to believe he can run entire regions of the world. He could not manage his own companies without destroying them. He enriched himself and left everyone else holding the debt. That pattern has not changed. It has scaled. While Trump boasts online about seizing tens of millions of barrels of Venezuelan oil, the geopolitical reality tells a different story. Iran, China, and Russia continue to maintain relationships with the same power brokers Trump props up. Even critics of the Venezuelan regime acknowledge that figures Trump supports are often worse, more corrupt, more brutal. Trump does not care. Brutality is not a deal breaker. Disloyalty is. As the streets fill with protest, the corruption at the top continues to surface. Congressional investigators have refused to let the Epstein case disappear. Subpoenas are moving forward for powerful benefactors and for executives tied to Epstein's estate, including the accountants survivors say hold massive financial records. These are not minor documents. They are potentially tens of millions of records tied to money laundering, shell companies, and hidden financial flows, and Trump's MAGA apparatus has worked tirelessly to block, delay, and bury them. Predators protect predators. This is happening while Trump demands sacrifice from everyone else. MAGA Republicans refuse to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies, forcing millions of Americans to lose health coverage because subsidies are, in their words, a bad word. At the same time, Trump floated massive taxpayer subsidies up to $100 billion for oil companies operating in Venezuela. He already pushed tens of billions toward Argentina. And now he wants to raise the military budget for 2027 from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion. Trump calls it a dream military. He claims tariffs will pay for it. He claims debt will shrink. He claims dividends will be paid to ordinary Americans. These claims collapse under basic math. The debt is rising. The deficit is expanding. Federal spending is exploding in the exact way it always does under Trump. Upward redistribution, wrapped in patriotic language. America already spends multiples more on its military than any other nation on Earth. What Americans are actually asking for is not another trillion in weapons, but an American dream that functions. Affordable housing, affordable food, wages that match reality. A life where people working full-time do not live under constant psychological stress. Trump has no interest in that. His priorities are fixed: enrich himself, protect his inner circle, and treat the rest of the country as expendable. Back in Minneapolis, Trump personally amplified the lie that Renee Nicole Good was a terrorist, falsely claiming an ICE agent had been struck by her vehicle. Video evidence shows otherwise. The agent was beside the car. He fired through the window. He shot her in the face. She died. Afterward, roughly 2,000 ICE agents flooded the city. Protesters were met not with restraint, but with force. So-called non-lethal rounds were fired directly at faces, rounds that can blind, maim, or kill.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Let go! Kill someone else! Kill someone else!
Language is used to soften reality, but reality does not soften in response. While people bled in the streets, Trump's media ecosystem pivoted to distraction and cruelty. Commentators obsessed over trivialities instead of a woman killed by federal agents. Others claimed America has a Somali problem.
The Democrats have a little bit of a Somali problem. They've let it
America
go.
has a bit of a Somali problem.
Especially the Democrats in Minnesota.
Then Jesse Waters and J.D. Vance talk about, oh, why are you saying Donald Trump is so greedy? It's not like Donald Trump's making any money or taking things for himself. Here, play this clip.
I think it's interesting. The Democrats call the president greedy, but in what sense has any of this enriched him or enriched the administration? It's enriched the American people, which is what you want out of an American president. Somebody who's thinking to themselves, how do I serve the American people's best interest? How do I go and accomplish good things for the American people? That's a good thing to have in an American president. You want somebody who's greedy for the American people. The Democrats are greedy for themselves.
No, America has a Trump problem, a radicalization problem. A regime that scapegoats immigrants and minorities to distract from its own crimes. Then came the most obscene lie of all, the claim that Trump is not greedy, that he is somehow enriching the American people.
Interesting. The Democrats call the president greedy, but in what sense has any of this enriched him or enriched the administration? It's enriched the American people, which is what you want out of an American president. Somebody who's thinking to themselves, how do I serve the American people's best interest? How do I go and accomplish good things for the American people? That's a good thing to have in an American president. You want somebody who's greedy for the American people. The Democrats are greedy for themselves.
This is a man whose entire life is a case study in extraction. He takes, he borrows, he defaults, he walks away. He calls it success. He leaves communities hollowed out and calls it winning. There are still voices willing to say the truth out loud. Members of Congress called the Minneapolis killing what it was, a murder and a manifestation of every American's worst nightmare, a government turning into a tyrant.
What we saw today was a criminal murder a woman and shoot her in the head while she was trying to escape and flee for her life. And I think what we saw today was a manifestation of every American's worst nightmare, which is their government turning into a tyranny.
Do you believe he should be arrested, the officer involved?
I think what we saw was a murder today, and I think that we need, of course.
A U.S. senator from Minnesota said what millions feel in their bones: just leave us alone. A woman was shot in her car, and everything the administration did afterward made it worse.
The Trump administration is so fixated on Minnesota right now.
Well, I wish I knew. I mean, I wish they would just leave us the fuck alone. I mean, seriously. What is when do things stop being about politics and start being about actual human decency? And so, I mean, I'm sure we can all hypothesize on what all of their political reasons are. But meanwhile, a woman died being shot in her car. And everything that they're doing is making it worse and not better. Thank you all.
This is why Trump is losing control. Fear only works while people believe resistance is futile. That illusion is gone. People are not only protesting a single killing or a single policy, they are protesting a worldview where power answers to no one, where violence is justified after the fact, where corruption is normalized, and where cruelty is framed as strength. The streets are filling because Americans recognize the pattern. They see how authoritarian systems operate abroad, and they see the same tactics being imported at home. They see paramilitary policing. They see disinformation. They see scapegoating. They see the protection of elites at the expense of everyone else. And they understand that history does not forgive societies that ignore these signs. Trump lashes out because lashing out is all he has left. He posts more. He threatens more. He demands loyalty. But loyalty built on fear erodes the moment fear is confronted collectively. 10,000 people in Minneapolis did not just protest a killing. They punctured the myth that Trump's forces are untouchable. Every march, every chant, every refusal to accept the official lie widens that crack. This is not chaos. This is accountability trying to break through repression. This is what it looks like when propaganda collides with lived reality. Trump can call protesters terrorists. He can call victims criminals. He can inflate budgets and sell fantasies, but he cannot erase what people see with their own eyes. America is not flooding the streets because it wants disorder. America is flooding the streets because order has been weaponized against it, because law has been bent to protect power rather than people, because silence has become more dangerous than dissent. We are anonymous. We do not ask you to believe us blindly. We ask you to look, share what you see, speak what you know, organize where you stand.